The moment the world never anticipated has finally arrived, following months of murmurs, reverberating through Buckingham Palace, minute alterations in official pictures, and ceaseless public conjecture. This moment was the result of all the subtle absences from official occasions, the murmurs, and the covert glances. To end her quiet, Princess Catherine has come forward. The monarchy and the country were left in startled astonishment as her voice boomed over the royal grounds. It was calm, measured, and unmistakably sorrowful. It wasn't only heartbreaking what she disclosed. It validated anxieties that had been secretly harbored for months behind royal walls. A reality that no press release could ever adequately convey. The room's doors were designed to remain locked, soundproof, and protected from microphones and inquisitive eyes. There were just a few senior courtiers, reliable aides, and a few chosen family members. However, what transpired inside these opulent walls would reverberate throughout the world and far beyond Buckingham Palace. Princess Catherine started reading from a handwritten statement while maintaining her composure. Every word she said was intentional, revealing something very intimate and unquestionably human, rather than just providing information. Please hit the bell icon and subscribe to our channel before we go any further. You can get closer to these special royal updates with each like, music, remark, and share. Don't miss a second of the royal family's life as history is made. The weight of vulnerability and authority was evident in Princess Catherine's voice. Even seasoned royal correspondents were visibly affected by the truths she revealed about Prince Louis's health, speaking not only as the Princess of Wales, but also as a mother. The word condition was used cautiously, neither completely defined nor rejected, but there was a seriousness about it that made the room quiet. Her tone had a faint quiver that conveyed both fragility and strength, a careful balancing act between duty and mother instinct. Aides reported an unsettling, almost palpable silence inside the castle, as though the golden halls themselves were holding their breath. After making the statement, Prince William, who is usually calm in public, moved away, casting a shadow of solemnity in his wake. Despite her reputation for stoicism, Princess Anne was apparently noticeably frightened. In a matter of minutes, the palace's communication cables broke. Their schedules were disrupted by national news outlets. The world's media rushed to confirm what didn't seem feasible. The most trusted member of the royal family had broken the family's long-standing reputation for silence. Social media took off. Prince Louis's name appeared in hashtags music that trended globally. Love, hope, and concern-filled messages flooded in by the second. However, there was a great deal of stress and sorrow in the palace. We need to go back in time to see why Catherine's remarks rocked the monarchy. All along, the indications had been there. Subtle, nearly undetectable, but obvious to astute observers. Over time, Prince Louis's edited appearances, clipped images, and lack of attendance at important events became a trend. For instance, music was listed on the official itinerary for the royal Easter celebration, but he was nowhere to be seen. This was initially written off as a careless blunder, but royal observers saw a developing pattern. The pattern became evident in everything from balcony appearances to Christmas songs. The quiet surrounding him intensified as Prince Louis vanished. The image that sparked uproar then appeared. With the exception of one obvious omission, Prince Louis, a family portrait meant to highlight the cohesion of the Wales family, appeared perfect, polished, and cozy. The event was soon dubbed Portrait Gate. Professionals with expertise in photo editing and digital forensics spoke up. Posture, spacing, and shadows were discussed on online forums. The world realized something was wrong when social media erupted. Every missing moment and every absent smile suggested a more complex narrative, a tale of invisible suffering, silent conflicts, and secret challenges. At last, clarity, bravery, and a humanizing viewpoint were introduced by Princess Catherine's statement, which had an impact much beyond the palace walls. Her bravery served as a reminder to the people that despite their golden splendor, the royal family is a human family with weaknesses, anxieties, and a strong bond with their offspring. The palace hurried to react within hours of Catherine's declaration. A succinct, well-crafted statement emerged. At home, Prince Louis is having more peace and quiet. Although it appeared innocuous on paper, it actually raised more questions than it did answers. What type of silence prevents a young prince from participating in public events and family portraits? Why now, following months of conjecture, the press and general people were dissatisfied? Tension quietly simmered inside the castle as whispers got louder. Official timetables started to show subtle discrepancies. Prince Louis was previously scheduled for a number of events, according to calendar entries, but these were discreetly eliminated in updated editions. Close aides became uncomfortable. Some saw that Catherine had been more reclusive, discreetly going to secret medical appointments under strict confidentiality. These trips coincided with Louis's absences, which added to the growing uneasiness. Even tabloid rumors started to change. Reputable journalists with years of access to the palace suddenly paid heed to what was earlier dismissed as rumors. Briefings came to pass. Overnight, royal communications became more stringent. However, it was obvious that something was going wrong behind those golden gates, in spite of all the safety measures. When Catherine was seen exiting the rear entrance of a high-security pediatric facility by herself, it was the tipping point. Surrounded by unmarked security vehicles, he bent his head. The visual gravity of that moment was greater than any statement made by the palace. The people saw very far away that something was going on. The truth was exposed by one incorrectly filed paper that was never intended to leave the palace. There was a single name, a heartfelt message, and a clear connection to Prince Louis inside. The crew went into overdrive due to the error. Throughout the night, phones rang. Statements were drafted by legal teams, but the public had already seen what was supposed to be kept secret. The paper included specialized medical notes, meticulous internal procedures, and continuous pediatric monitoring. Words like neurodevelopmental tracking, progressive markers, and longitudinal observation portrayed an image that was precise, clinical, and emotionally taxing. There was no sensationalization of the leak. The palace was shocked by the fact that it was merely factual. Silently, chaos broke out. Employees received reprimands, communications were shut down, and additional physical and digital security measures were put in place. Administrative supervision, rather than scandal, had perforated the monarchy's renowned prudence. Senior royals were called to an urgent meeting by King Charles. All but one of the chairs were occupied, Catherine's. Her absence was a powerful statement. There were a lot of questions. Was this a premeditated move, a silent protest, or the subdued declaration of a mother fiercely defending her child? Music, there were voices in the room. Normally stoic, Princess Anne broke down in tears. There was a heated exchange of words. Prince Louis was at the center of it all. A palace split over his well-being and the truth about it. It was an unedited, instantaneous, and brutal confrontation. Emotion or haste had no bearing on royal protocol. The message emerged from the tempest of secrecy. Prince Louis was at the heart of a sensitive, very human tale. Love, safety, and maternal instinct clashed with centuries of custom and power behind the walls of Buckingham Palace. As the world watched, only bits of this truth emerged, leaving the public both immensely sympathetic to the inner hardships of a royal family and impatient for clarification. The halls of Buckingham monarchy were electrified with tension just hours after the medical file leak rocked the monarchy. In those moments, every assistant and senior staff member felt the weight of history. The carefully planned stillness had been broken by the leak. Princess Anne, who has long been considered the monarchy's most stoic and unflinching defender of convention, went into this storm. But Anne wasn't standing up for tradition this time. She had come to demand justice for Prince Louis, her nephew. Anne showed up uninvited to a top strategy discussion. She had ferocious composure and keen eyes. She didn't hold back when speaking in front of King Charles. Each sound was full of power and unadulterated passion. She reportedly said, "You've silenced Catherine," raising her voice, "and in doing so, you've failed Louis, you've failed all of us." the space went cold. Employees were taken aback since they were used to the etiquette and civility of palace sessions. In front of them, Anne's characteristic calmness and discipline shattered. Her own copies of the documents that had been leaked were in a folder that she smashed onto the table. Each page served as a reminder of the reality they had attempted to conceal. King Charles tried to take back control after being taken by surprise and surrounded. His steady, icy voice tried to ease the tension. Not everything needs to be known, Anne, not by them, not by the world. However, his words, which were meant to soothe, only intensified the conflict. Anne's voice wavered with emotion, a blend of intense loyalty, anguish, and exasperation. And when your people no longer trust you, what then? What is left of a throne built on silence? There was silence in the room. Advisors looked at each other, not sure whether to step in. The rules had been broken. The conflict was intensely personal rather than political. A sister was glaring down at her brother, demanding not just obedience, but also responsibility and moral clarity. Soon after, Anne left the room, tears streaming down her cheeks. Quiet resolution softened her expression. Her message was obvious even though she remained silent. She had rejected convention in favor of truth. According to several witnesses, she went straight to Catherine's room, possibly to provide advice or encouragement. Catherine had been planning her next move behind closed doors. Lastly, irreversible and deeply intimate. Beneath layers of family photos in a private drawer, a handwritten message was found. The memo was never intended for public view, much less for her own husband, Prince William, to read at that precise moment. The first line of the letter established the tone for unvarnished candor and vulnerability. "If you found this, then I never had the strength to say it aloud." A tidal surge of emotions, including love, grief, frustration, and resolve, ensued. By Louis's bedside, Catherine described each restless night. Under pseudonyms, the expert consultations flew in. The tremendous strain of keeping her cool for the cameras as her private life silently fell apart. She wrote about William's secret struggle in addition to her own. The letter said that he had been collapsing in silence while attempting to strike a balance between his royal responsibilities and the personal anxieties of a parent witnessing his kid's struggle. After lengthy days of official work, Catherine talked about his shaking hands, the sleepless evenings he spent debating choices he couldn't discuss in public, the silent times spent in Louis's room after bed, looking for non-verbal communication. Despite his seeming strength, William had submitted to the monarchy's apparatus, suppressing his instincts in favor of formalities. It was not an appeal for attention in Catherine's letter. It was a legacy act of affection and of an uncompromising mother instinct. The intolerable pressure she faced was encapsulated in one precise statement: "They want me to grin as he slips away." It was a reflection of the unrealistic demands of public life and the need to keep her cool as her private life fell apart. Days prior to Catherine's public declaration, William received the letter. William read the words silently at Sandringham, sitting in the identical estate where he had grown up. He did not eat the food that the servants brought. Time appeared to be suspended. His lifeless, colorless face showed a deep comprehension. The truth could no longer be subordinated to the palace's strategy. Between them, something changed. William ceased to oppose Catherine's intuition. He stopped challenging her choices. He moved aside so that her truth and voice might be heard. The monarchy experienced a subtle but profound change from inside the family itself when the personal overcame the formalities. The hallways of the palace were already tinged with anxiety. However, nothing could have prepared them for the impending storm, because there was more to the letter Catherine had written than merely a revelation. It was an appeal for her kid, for acknowledgement, and for the truth. However, the machinery of the monarchy, which had been trained for silence, control, and perfection, continued to attempt to restrain it. Up until one person, unusual, bold, and controversial, came forward to make all the difference. Prince Harry was the one. He was alienated, scrutinized, and frequently chastised, but in this instance, he emerged from the royal walls as the voice of conscience. Harry did what no one expected after years of banishment, scandal, and silent observation. He extended his hand. As he watched the media frenzy surrounding Prince Louis from thousands of miles away, the headlines, the rumors, Catherine's moves, all too familiar to him, Harry came to the conclusion that quiet could no longer shield anyone. He picked up the phone and made a straight call to Catherine without waiting for permission, official channels, or palace officials. There was a lot of intensity in the moment. A look of astonishment, caution, and hope flashed across Catherine's face as she hesitated for a moment. When she responded, however, Harry talked as someone who had experienced and comprehended her suffering rather than as a prince or a rebel. "I know what it's like to be kept in the dark," he firmly but quietly stated. "You have to tell them, they'll never understand if you don't." Harry and Catherine conversed uninterrupted for 37 minutes. No helpers, not a single recording. There were just two voices that shared determination, fear, and pain. Silently, Catherine took in the support she had much needed. Meghan apparently responded to the call tensely back in Montecito, on the other side of the Atlantic. According to sources, there was a tense conversation that served as a reminder of Harry and Meghan's initial reasons for leaving. For Harry, however, this had nothing to do with division or old grudges. It was about ending a quiet cycle. He recognized Louis's story as a mirror of his own battles with pressure, concealment, and scrutiny. Later on, Catherine would refer to Harry's remarks as the nudge I needed, words that made her realize how close she had come to retreating once more. The strain from the palace had been enormous. She was no longer alone, though. She had been drawn forward by someone beyond the gates, not out of retaliation, but out of compassion. This call led to yet another surprising result. William answered the phone. Two brothers, shattered by history and hardened by time, spoke for the first time in months. No helpers, no middlemen, not everything was resolved by the conversation. However, it opened a door that had been closed for a long time. The palace itself was in disarray in the meantime. King Charles made an unusual attempt to stop the release just hours before Catherine was scheduled to make a public statement. It was described as desperate by insiders, dramatic, even borderline unconstitutional, according to some. The king's legal staff sent many parts of the royal administration a secret, encrypted command at 2:43 a.m. Just the title was shocking. Protocol for immediate containment. Preventing Catherine from giving her public speech was the obvious goal. Alleged emotional instability and acts against the interests of the monarchy were used as justifications. Essentially, the palace aimed to undermine her authority as a mother, her voice, and her position as a senior royal. Even seasoned advisors were hesitant, though. This wasn't how things were done. This was real-time suppression. Tradition and truth collide. William then became the target of pressure. He was called in for an urgent briefing and asked to step in and stop Catherine before her statement became final. It was a direct plea. Its clarity is almost terrible.